Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Midday Live with me, Esi Benewanyame. We are coming our way with 1 hour of news. Let's look at our top stories now. And panelists on TV3 Current Affairs show the key points urge police service to issue to ensure it follows a due process to protect lives and property. Greater Accra Regional Mental Health Coordinator wants mental health clubs established in senior high schools. And in international news, deforestation of Amazon rainforest in Brazil hits high rate in a decade, with 7,900 square kilometers rainforest destroyed between August 2017 and July 2018. Let's do our very first story now. And Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces and Staff Command College, Professor Vladimir Nkwidanso, says the police service must work to change what he calls the trigger-happy nature of its personnel. Speaking on key points, National Network Coordinator of OneUp Ghana, Albert also noted personnel of the service must ensure their action reflects their name change from police force to service. Meanwhile, another panelist on the show, Edmond Foley, who is head of Public Law Department of GIMPA, said the service must ensure it conducts proper investigations when events occur.
They work professionally towards every other incident of that nature. But when it is one of their own, the psyche around it is completely different. And that is where they may come, I agree with, that's where they may either commit mistakes or not work properly, kind of. And so, yes, this kind of thing, they were very eager to get to the bottom, because those persons who are the scene to look for the culprits, could have had this psychology that it could have been me. So let me work. But the trigger happiness, is something we must work on very seriously. In Canada, in the US, and several other places, the training involves pressurizing the person to the point where he needs to do something, but they will hardly pull the trigger. They will hardly pull the trigger. They are trained as diplomats to be able to get to the bottom. I mean, when they are even talking to the culprit themselves, things come out. But has the society here been able to have such a situation where the policeman is not trigger happy, when the policeman doesn't feel that because of the uniform and because of the gun he is wielding, he is superior to the incident, he is superior to the person he's talking to.
Right.
That is something we need to be looking at.
Great. Now, Mr. Foley, I'm coming on the back of that. The usual refrain when such incidents happen is that we had to defend ourselves. And clearly, Professor Nkwidanso has brought in the facts about or what pertains in other jurisdictions, which is, yes, you may be confronted or facing a situation where, your life perhaps is at risk, and but you need to employ certain skills or tactics or techniques, as it were. But here, we had to defend ourselves. Now, how do we, is it a question of how they are trained, or what exactly do you think it is?
If you look at our laws on self-defense, the circumstances in which you can defend yourself and the circumstances in which the police can use force to effect an arrest, for instance, there's a slight distinction. In the case of self-defense, the law allows, and this is for all of us, including ordinary citizens, to kill in extreme circumstances. The Criminal Offences Act says, yes, in extreme cases, even extending to killing. So self-defense is not always killing. Yes, you could defend yourself through physical contact with the person. Now, in effecting an arrest, the police exercise very wide powers.
Right.
Yes, I mean, policing powers are extremely wide. And I think that is where they are not able to make the distinction at times. I have grappled even with the term armed robbery in this country. If you look at the law says robbery. And robbery basically is stealing with violence.
Right.
So it is not in all instances that the person who has committed a possible crime of stealing would have done so even with a gun. But for argument's sake, in more instances than not, we've been told guns have been used.
Some weapons of sorts, yeah.
So something doesn't add up in this story from the police end. Right, you recovered weapons from some place, right? And you say there was fire. Your investigations need to establish, even after you have shot these people, that the fire came from them. You see, so for you to conclude every time you shoot people that they are the ones who shot you is a bit problematic. Because after the incident, we still expect them to investigate. The fact that you have even shot somebody who shot at you does not conclude the investigation.
Right from the beginning, during the colonial time, the orientation of the police has been that of militarism. Now, and they were even trained by the military group. Now, it was a police force, and the force meant a military group. Now, we became a service. You know, that change of name or nomenclature has not affected the orientation of the actions of the police themselves. So it's been carried away. Now, the other thing is about how they see the law and suspects. Now, very often, when someone commits an offense or is seen to be committing an offense, so you see that they approach you with violence, even when they question you. Normal police procedures on the road, they ask you a question and as if you are already wrong, you know, or that you are already being judged by them.
Yeah,
so that
very
is
judgmental.
Yes, so very judgmental. So they have prejudice against every other person. And crowd control, I think, is something that very often they miss, you know, and it's one of the, maybe the force itself needs to look at critically.
Residents of Mamobi Kalkudi have vowed to go on a demonstration if the Kalkudi Mamobi Gata is not completed by 2019. The residents who stormed the Star Ghana Community Connect program on 3FM revealed that they are at high risk of contracting diseases since the uncompleted drain has become a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
The construction of the Kaukudi Mamobi Gata started in 2016 but came to an abrupt end in 2017 and has since not been completed. Residents are angry at the turn of events and want the government to consider it as a priority.
The
gutter has become a death trap for our children. Last time, someone fell into it and died. The mosquito-infested gutter is also causing malaria.
As I speak, people in the community are not happy about the trend.
Okay.
So that's what I'm also saying that
by
March next year,
okay,
if this gutter is not completed, we'll make sure that, in fact, we'll block the...
Two assemblymen for Nima East and Mamobi East are also concerned.
Because of change of government, we don't know what comes. So we don't know what's happening. We went to our municipal, we asked our coordinating director, he said they will call Baba Alaji and ask him what is going on about the contractors. We saw they are packing their things. We don't know what is happening.
We approached the contractor, the Libyan, we asked him, and then he told us, in fact, because of the change of government, they cannot continue with the project. And I asked him why. He told me they use their own money to finance the project.
I see.
So there's the need for government to pay them before they continue.
The Member of Parliament for Ayawaso North, Yusuf Isaka Jaja, who spoke on phone, said he is in constant touch with the Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, Anthony Kabo, who has promised to attend to it. A representative of the Municipal Chief Executive, Augustine JB, said the drain is on the priority list of government.
If you have not awarded any contract to somebody, you need to call the contractor and then all the people involved to give you the update before you can continue. Right. And that is what, anytime my MCE goes there, that's what they told him, you should keep quiet, they will work on that.
For now, it is uncertain when work would resume on the drain, which has sadly become a death trap for residents.
In other news, Human Rights Advocacy Center, in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service, has organized a mental health program to create awareness among young people. The Greater Accra Regional Mental Health Coordinator, Etonam Glenda, wants mental health clubs established in senior high schools.
It is estimated that of the 21.6 million people living in Ghana, 650,000 are suffering from a severe mental disorder and 2,166,000 more are suffering from a moderate to mild mental disorder. The treatment gap is 98% of the total population expected to have a mental disorder. According to the director of HRAC, Cynthia Numo Apredu, HRAC's focus is on the human rights and health care for mental health patients at traditional or faith-based centers where the treatment is not certified and often unregulated. With support from Star Ghana, HRAC, in partnership with Mind Freedom Ghana, recently initiated the Promoting Quality Access to Mental Health Care and Rights of Persons with Mental Disabilities in Traditional Mental Health Centers project. The aim of the project is to improve mental health care services and treatment in traditional mental health settings. Mental health problems affect about 1 in 10 children and young people. They include depression and are often a direct response to what is happening in their lives. 70% of children and young people who experience mental health problems have not had appropriate interventions at an early age. At the HRAC Mental Health School outreach organized at the St. Thomas Aquinas School, a panel discussion led by TV3's Wendy Lai focused on the mental health of young people being important as their physical health. Panelists discussed how good mental health allows children and young people develop the resilience to cope with whatever they encounter.
At this stage that you are looking to establish a relationship, you can't also trust someone. It becomes confusing. So it can lead to mental illness because you are always confused. People are not saying what you want to hear. You are not confident enough. People are not giving you what you want to experience. Mentally, you will not rest.
When the issue begins, for instance, in stories of our young ladies, if the teacher attempts raping you, or you have been assaulted in any way, both emotional or physically, please don't keep it to yourself. The time is the time it happened.
Mental health education is necessary in schools to guide young people as they grow up.
Maybe you have family, and that the family is not just willing to help, they can be brought in. Then there's what we call the social welfare that is also brought in to support. So it's a multi-sectorial. We deal with different people coming together to ensure that the best is resolved.
Being in good physical health, among other things, according to the panelists, help keep children and young people mentally fit.
And over 100 surgeries had to be cancelled at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital from January-October 2017 due to lack of oxygen. Acting Chief Executive Director Dr. Eric Kofi Nyejedu says over 50,000 Ghana cedis is spent each month on oxygen, a move which affects finances of the hospital.
According to a research conducted by some medical students of the University of Cape Coast, out of the 2024 surgeries scheduled from January to October 2017, 104 were cancelled due to the inability of the hospital to provide enough oxygen and anesthetics. This was revealed at the Maiden Scientific Research Conference on the theme, Optimizing Outcome of Healthcare Delivery, the Role of Research in Policy Decision-Making at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. The acting chief executive officer of the hospital, Dr. Eric Kofi Nyejedu, is worried about the amount of money being channeled into the provision of oxygen.
As I speak currently, weekly we have to buy a huge number of bottles of oxygen from Air Liquide. It's a huge strain on the hospital resources.
He, however, stated that the hospital invested in this research work to help them make informed decisions that will not only lead to a change in practice, but propel them to excellence.
The management is committed to ensuring that the recommendations that have been provided adhere to. There are certain cases that you may do very little about. Somebody who has a low HB and then requires an emergency surgery.
The head of monitoring, planning and evaluation at the Ministry of Health, Benjamin Nyakuche, noted that research is key in doing things efficiently.
That theory of change we want to espouse is that it is no longer business as usual. If we want to move into a different trajectory, then it means we need to do things differently.
The WHO representative in Ghana, Dr. Owen Kalua, says Ghana needs to increase its domestic resource allocation to address high cases of malaria in the country. Speaking exclusively to TV3 on the latest 2018 malaria report, Dr. Owen Kalua expressed worry the implementation of interventions are not done on a large scale to make a difference. Ghana is among 10 other African countries mentioned in the latest 2018 malaria report by the WHO, where new cases of malaria are high and progress to halt the trend has come to a standstill. The malaria report highlights some progresses made over the past decade. In 2010, 230 million people contracted malaria, and by 2014, the number was down to 212 million. However, in the past few years, the progress has stagnated and there have been some increases in the number of people contracting malaria. In 2015, there were 217 million people with malaria, and the number increased to 219 in 2017. This, the WHO representative in Ghana, Dr. Owen Kalua, called for the scaling up of programs to reduce malaria.
I believe in Ghana we should be able to move quite well to implement that, because we have a strong and robust malaria control program which has delivered a lot of good results. But I think we need to strengthen our efforts, particularly in prevention of malaria, and maybe also focus very much on using strategic information to inform or to drive the high impact interventions that we have to implement.
He was worried targets of ending or eliminating malaria would not be met if concerted actions are not taken.
If by 2017 we have stagnated, it means we are not likely to reach that target. And if we don't reach that target, we are not likely to reach the target of ending malaria by 2030. We need to make concerted action and take that action quickly so that we can continue in the trajectory of reducing malaria to meet our goals of 2030.
Dr. Kalua mentioned the WHO has stepped in to reverse the trend globally.
WHO and the Rollback Malaria Partnership to End Malaria and other partners have launched an initiative which is dubbed High Impact for High Burden Countries Initiative.
Ghana has a global target of ending malaria by 2030. In a related development, Acting National Malaria Control Program Manager Dr. Kaiser Mam has attributed Ghana's inclusion in the 2018 malaria report to lack of finances and human behavior. Dr. Mam noted these, when addressed, would help Ghana to scale up interventions. Ghana is among high-burden malaria countries globally. Reacting to the 2018 malaria report by the WHO, Acting National Malaria Control Program Manager Dr. Kaiser Mam said Ghana's geographical location puts the country at risk.
Generally, we are located at a place where there's high burden of malaria. We have made progress to some extent, but there's still a lot of work for us to do. And we're putting that category because even if you look at other regions, they are reporting malaria in the hundreds of thousands or sometimes even in thousands. We are reporting malaria in millions. So that means there's still a lot of work for us to do before we'll be able to reduce the burden of malaria.
Malaria, she said, is still accounting for a huge proportion of OPD attendance. Even though the control program was working to reduce the numbers, much needs to be done.
If you look at our health facility reporting, even those being admitted for severe forms of malaria have reduced. But the numbers are still quite high. Malaria is still accounting for a huge proportion of our outpatient attendance, so we still are not there yet.
She blamed the situation on lack of finances and human behavior.
I'm sure if we have all the money, all the drains would have been covered. One thing about malaria is a lot of the interventions depends on people's behavior. So you can even have the finance to buy a net, but you have to sleep in the net. For example, ACT treatment, people start day one, they feel better and they stop. So they still have the parasite and they become reservoirs for transmission.
The Ghana Education Service, GES, has sacked 10 of its staff for sexual misconduct and other offenses. Let's now I have in the studio Peter Pate Anti, and he is the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies, and he is here to talk to us more about this particular issue. So the infamous kitchen stool issue also came up. You know, he has also been suspended. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Well, so you are an educationist. Yesterday, okay, so there is a press release that the Ghana Education Service, they have sacked 10 of their teachers for sexual misconduct and other, offenses. What do you make of these particular release?
Well, we think that it is a good step in the right direction, because we have been hearing some of these things happening in our schools for far too long. And most of the times when it happens like that, the initial announcement comes as in the teacher has been transferred to another school, or there's a suspension, and we don't hear of it again. But thankfully, this time around, we've seen drastic action being taken by the Ghana Education Service, and we think that it is in the right direction.
Do you think that this is an indication of a breakdown in the education system? You know, teachers involving themselves in sexual misconduct, some were also suspended or sacked for stealing and all that.
No, we think that it is, we should look at it more from the perspective of the individuals who are involved in this, because there are thousands of teachers in the country, and so far, if you look at these instances that have happened, we are talking about roughly 10 to 15 teachers. So it's not a breakdown in the teaching field. It is just that these teachers are not behaving professionally as they are supposed to behave. You know, when you go through the teacher training system, you are taking through a whole lot of things that should present you in a way that you will not come out and behave as some of these teachers did. So it should be looked at from an individual perspective rather than putting all the teaching profession together as a breakdown.
Would you say that this is, deterrent enough, sacking them, or there's more that the Ghana Education, Service should do? Because others are saying that, they should do more.
Yeah, we think that it is the first that the Ghana Education can take, but what we are also thinking is that there should be a publication outside the press release. There should be a publication to all educational institutions that all these people should be prevented from entering into any of our educational institutions, like going there as teachers or headmasters or school attendants, whatever it is. Because, the teacher is placed in a position of trust. If you go to other jurisdictions, the child is given to the teacher to take care of. So if you go outside your what you're supposed to do, like
the mandate of just teaching them, ensuring that
exactly, and more important at this point that people even take their children as early as 6 months to school. If you are a teacher and you are into some of these things, you can imagine the kind of things that we'll be doing to our kids. So we think that there should be another publication to all educational institutions banning these people from
from venturing into any sector of the education in Ghana. I think that would be more deterrent than just the press release and Ghana education, because you will see some of them find themselves into the private schools, and then some of them might start their own school and other things with the experience and other things that they have gotten. But if we have an indication or publication banning them from all education institutions, it will be more deterrent to others who would want to venture into some of these behavior. And we also think that the National Teaching Council should step up their game and then speed up the licensing process, because that would be a very important step in the standardization of the teaching profession. So in this case, these teachers' licenses would have been withdrawn, and that you cannot practice teaching in Ghana again. So
as an educationist, you are a teacher as well, or you have been a teacher also.
I'm a teacher.
You are a teacher also. So how best can the Ghana Education Service, manage relationships between the teachers and the students to ensure that some of these issues, do not come up?
Yeah, teachers are aware that their code of conduct states clearly that you are not supposed to have a relationship, an amorous relationship with your students. And when you are going through the teaching profession, you are being trained as a teacher, these things are made clear. But we think that the Ghana Education Service should take a second look at their guidance and counseling unit. We have said this over and over again, because that unit is a very important branch of the education system that we have in Ghana, but it has not received the kind of attention that it needs, because they are supposed to guide and counsel the students, guide and counsel the teachers, because some of these things that we are hearing, there are instances in other schools that we might not even hear of, because the students are not bold enough to come out and say that this is what they are going through. So if GES is able to strengthen their guidance and counseling unit, and the counselors are able to move to schools and then talk to the teachers and talk to the students, I think that this issue would reduce.
Yeah. Finally, you are talking about these guidance and counseling units. Do we have them in the schools at all, and is that effective?
Ideally, they are supposed to be. There's supposed to be a counselor in every school.
Do we have them?
Ideally, ideally, but in most of the schools, some teachers step in as the counselors or as guidance and counseling coordinator, because they might have taken guidance and counseling as a course in the university. But there should be proper counselors in the schools whose sole work is to attend to the needs of the students and the teachers, and not to partake in the teaching and learning activities.
So we really don't have them in the schools?
Yes, it's not as it's supposed to be.
Thanks so much, Peter Pate, Auntie, for joining us here in the studio to talk to us about this particular issue. He is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. This is Midday Live. Stay with us. We have more coming up after this. And in business, President Akufo-Addo says before the end of his first term of office, all the promises made to the Ghanaian people in the run-up to the 2016 elections will be fulfilled, including the full realization and implementation of the One District, One Factory policy. He made this known when visiting the Kete-Krachi Timber Recovery Limited, a company operating under Ghana's One District, One Factory initiative.
It will be recalled that construction of the Volta Lake resulted in vast tracts of hardwood being submerged. These, over the years, have caused repeated fatal accidents on the lake. The establishment of the Kete-Krachi Timber Factory is expected to reduce accidents on the Volta Lake and will also guarantee the safety of entrepreneurs whose activities require that they travel on the Volta Lake on regular basis. The company, located in Isujaman in the eastern region, runs a timber salvage operation on the Volta Lake using barge-mounted salvage unit built around modified caterpillar excavators. Addressing the gathering at Isujaman, President Akufo-Addo noted the operation of the Kete-Krachi Timber Recovery Limited is yet another manifestation of the One District, One Factory initiative bearing fruit.
Yeah, one year, you know, AC Akawa Ghana, among you cool and send me. I want to take a can send me, won't you say? Only na afro. When I saw Nesio,
I don't know what is really wrong with our political opponent. Either they are deaf or blind. I can't tell. They said it is not possible for us to execute the 1D, 1F initiative. But the evidence is clear for all to see across the country. He indicated that government has approved an incentive framework specially designed for the One District, One Factory approved companies. The incentives, which include tax holidays, duty waivers, and interest rate subsidies, are designed to help build the capacities and competitiveness of these enterprises and to position them for greater productivity and efficiency. In addition to these incentives, the 1D, 1F enterprises have been assigned technical experts to provide free advisory services during the project implementation phase.
And a special advisor to the Ministry of Special Development Projects, Dr. Bafo Ewua, has hinted 50 warehouses under the One District, One Warehouse will be operational in the next 6 months. He made this known at the Institute of Chartered Economists of Ghana's annual Economists Conference here in Accra.
The Ministry of Special Development Initiative, per their mandate, will be responsible for a third of the country's infrastructure development through interventions such as the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program, IPEP. Some of the projects will be financed by the One Constituency $1 million money. On the roadmap for the construction of warehouses, Special Advisor to the Ministry of Special Development Initiative, Dr. Bafo Ewua, indicated the One District, One Warehouse project is on course.
We have laboratories in them, drying. We also have sanitary facilities. We have solar powered to be able to use for the drying. The 50 warehouses, are they ready? If you give us about 6 months, we will have them usable.
The first 50 warehouses are for grains, while the second phase will be for grains and other agricultural produce. He noted the single fabricated warehouses are being built mostly by Ghanaian contractors.
As of now, apart from the prefab, everything that we have done, the dams and everything have all been done by our contractors. So I can assure you that when we go to the constituency, we also use the constituent labor to be able to do the work there.
A senior lecturer at the Economics and Development Department at Wisconsin University, Reverend Dr. Samuel Walanyo Mensah, observed the warehouses should be well integrated to agriculture, manufacturing, and distribution.
If it's going to promote trade and industry, then at the end of the day, we need to work on our transportation, whether being railway, whether being aviation, whether being roads. So we need really to work on them. And we also need to work on the rural empowerment, be able to empower the rural folks. And so there must be a lot of social education to educate the rural poor in order to embrace this whole idea.
He observed Ghana's industrialization effort hinges heavily on modernized agriculture and a good warehouse management system.
It's going to reduce rural-urban migration, where a lot of youth comes to the urban centers, the cities looking for white-collar jobs which are non-existent. And I think we'll be able to pay particular attention to agri sector and that of agro-businesses.
Meanwhile, an economist, Dr. Emmanuel Akwasam, has suggested the enactment of a law to back Ghana's One District, One Warehouse initiative.
Dr. Emmanuel Akwasam indicated the One District, One Warehouse initiative should be seen as a national rather than a political party's program.
Since government are also transient, if you are not careful, successive governments will come and they will see this agenda of the NPP government as a party policy and to be a disaster for the entire economy. It is therefore imperative that we seek the legal backing that it requires from parliament or any other sector segment of the society, so that successive governments will come and continue whatever that will be started, so that it will benefit the economy both domestically and at the international level in the future.
In his response, Special Advisor at the Ministry of Special Development Initiative, Dr. Bafo Ewua, indicated that government is making the effort to get legislation to back the One District, One Warehouse project.
Governments, they do go and governments do come. And if you don't take care, one government will come and they say this is a policy from the other government and it will no more be in existence. So we are reviewing the LI. In fact, we are having a meeting on it at 3 o'clock today to ensure that these things are taken care of.
And that's it for business. To entertainment now, and over the past years, African music stars from around the over 52 countries on the continent have put out beautiful musical works. The All-African Music Award seeks to reward and celebrate musical works, talents and creativity around the African continent while promoting the African cultural heritage. The 5th edition of the biggest African Music Awards in diaspora, AFRIMA, will begin with a red carpet at the Accra International Conference Center, where all the glamour, glitz and high fashion of the 5th AFRIMA in Ghana will be on display. Stars from across the continent will display their elegant sense of style and personality on the red carpet. Ghanaian-born American actor and comedian Michael Blackson, South Africa's talented TV personality Pearl Thusi, and Ghana's award-winning multilingual media personality Anita Eskin will be hosting the main award ceremony. And that's all for this afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. Before we part ways, let's look at our top stories once again. And panelists on TV3's Current Affairs show, the key points urge police service to ensure it follows due process to prosecute lives and protect lives and property. Greater Accra Regional Mental Health Coordinator wants mental health clubs established in senior high schools. And in international news, deforestation of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil hits highest rates in a decade, with 7,900 square kilometers rainforest destroyed between August 2017 and July 2018. You can join us with News 360 at 7 p.m. Till then, keep watching our programs. Have a good afternoon. My name is AC Benewa Otu.